Previously.
From those dunks last episode, you guys gave me a total average score of... I'm CJ Champion, and you guys are watching episode 2 of my online judging dunk series. In this series, you, the viewers, get to rate my dunk. Let's head right to the warm-up. So today, we're back on 9 feet, and this time I have a friend with me. His name's Itai, and he's a hooper. Let's introduce him right now. Itai, can you dunk a basketball on 10 feet? Just about. Just about. Do you practice low rim dunking?
No, this is basically the first time.
Let's see what we can do with him. We'll get him to do some new dunks, and let's see how it goes. So the idea is to see how the SRS system works with different skill levels. We're not exactly competing with each other. It's gonna be more of competing with ourselves. So I might have him come back another time, another session, and he might wanna try and score a bit higher. But again, what we'll do is we're gonna average all the answers in the comments, and we're gonna see what the total score is after what you guys say. Some power, okay. Dunk number 1, the reverse 360 East Bay. Try 2. Oh. Third try. Itai's next. Okay. First try. Round 2. Oh.
It was a good finish.
Yeah.
It was a good finish. Not bad, not bad. Okay, good job. Third try.
It's Chris Staples dunk. Slingshot to reverse two-hand finish. Back scratcher? Yeah. Two-hand tomahawk? Okay. Hey, the longer you hold it, the more style points you get. Oh my goodness.
What did that feel like?
It was pretty powerful, felt good.
That looks beautiful, good job.
Oh wait, no, I got a 360 pencil. What? No, I'm just gonna do this. Oh. Hey, there we go. Let me try to dunk. What is it like?
Ooh, okay. It's.
Woo! Oh. You punched it. It was a good finish. It was a good finish. Now that the dunks are done, if you go to the description, you can see a rubric of how I want you to score the judges. Go ahead, copy and paste it into the comments and fill in your scores. Hey guys, I'm gonna stop the video really quick. I just had to tell you guys, I am doing online training. If you are interested in getting some bounce, I'm putting my sports and exercise bachelor's degree into good use. If you want training online, or if you just wanna learn how to do specific technique work with dunking, if you wanna learn how to East Bay, if you wanna learn how to 360, any of that stuff, I also do video breakdowns. If you want more info, you can email me or you can DM me on Instagram. My email will be in the description. I have a special guest. This guest is gonna judge the dunks and they're gonna give an explanation as to why they scored the way they did. Let's see what they have to say.
What's up guys? My name is Jacob Yoon. I personally competed in 2 dunk contests already that have used this exact scoring system. I so happen to have won one of those dunk contests. Instagram and TikTok are at @TheRealJacobYoon. I'm sure CJ with his editing skills would put something right here. For the first dunk here, reverse 360 between the legs. When judging flight, for him to get his head at the rim, that would be a 4. For him to get his head or the rim around here, like his nose or like his mouth, To me, that would be around a 5. So for flight here, I'll be giving it a 3. The next category we have is style, and style is obviously very subjective person to person. I'm looking at how fluid the turn is, and also since we see that the ball is going between his legs, I also want to see how fast and fluid that transfer is of putting the ball between his legs. A big issue I see with a lot of dunkers is that when they do the turn, after they plant their feet, I notice that they're turning before their jump. When CJ's doing this dunk right here, I see that he plants his foot and then starts spinning. So he is doing a proper 360. Because of that, I am giving style a 4. But overall, style-wise, it was definitely a pleasing dunk to watch. Finish, I gave CJ here a 4. To me, a 5 finish is basically when the dunker dunks the ball perfectly down through the hoop. The net is usually displaced totally wrapped around the hoop, like sometimes how I see with Jordan Kilgannon on his cuff windmills. And if the ball lands on the ground before the dunker, that's a good indication that the finish was very powerful and precise. So that to me is a 5 finish. Now that I'm saying all this, I probably have to change my score to 4.5, simply because of the displacement of the net and him grabbing the rim down. So it was a powerful finish. Next up, we have my guy Itai here, who's doing a cuffed windmill off 1 foot. So Itai here is 6'2". The peak of his jump was 2 to 3 inches below the rim. So for flight here, I have to go with 2.5. As for style, for me, I would have to go with a 2. So Itai here was attempting a cuff windmill. He didn't necessarily do the full motion of a windmill. So if he exaggerated that motion of actually doing a windmill, it would have gotten higher on score. So that is why I have to give style a 2. As for finish, one thing that I really liked about this dunk in terms of finish is that Itai was incredibly precise on how he slammed the ball through the rim. We see that the net barely gets displaced, which means that it was a softer finish, but we see that Itai dunks it perfectly straight down, which means that the finish was incredibly precise. Finish here, I would have to give it a 3. Really liked how he dunked the ball straight down, but I do wish at the same time that the dunk was more powerful. Okay, so for this dunk, we have CJ attempting a under both off of a lob. We see that CJ unfortunately didn't complete this dunk. So the only value that we are judging for this dunk is how high he jumped. We see that CJ is getting his head right around the rim, maybe like half an inch below it. He definitely had some flight. I would definitely give it a 3.5. For this dunk right here, we see Itai attempting a one-hander from distance. Camera angle here wasn't the best. I kind of wish that the camera angle was more from the side so we could actually see how far he jumped from. We see that in front of his foot is right around the first hash mark, and then the back of his foot is around in between the second and first hash. So when we look at this compared to his first attempt, we see that the distance has considerably shrunk. We also see that when we look at where his head is in comparison to the rim, his head is about half an inch to an inch below the rim. So although he took off a little closer compared to where he originally wanted to start, he still got considerable flight. Therefore, I'm giving flight a 4. As for style, I gave it a 3. A perfect distance dunk, at least a one-hander wise, would be similar to obviously Michael Jordan, who in my opinion did it the best, where he, brought the ball kind of back like this. In terms of style, he just went straight up with it. So I'll just give this a 3. I thought it was a well-executed dunk, but there wasn't anything too spectacular about it to where I'd give style a 4 or 5. As for the finish, we see that the net definitely gets displaced. As we can see, it almost looks like when Itai dropped the ball through the net, it almost looked like a jump shot almost with how the net is displaced. I'm a pretty big fan of that. It means that the dunk was precise and the finish was definitely more in a downwards motion. I would have to give finish a 3.5. Again, I wish that the dunk finish wise was more powerful. All right, so for this dunk here, we have CJ doing a slingshot into a two-handed reverse. We see that he definitely brings the ball back, but he doesn't extend his arm all the way out. We see that in the slow-mo, he kind of bends his arm like this, whereas I feel like an ideal slingshot would be all the way down and ideally touching your foot. There are levels to a slingshot, similar to like a two-handed tomahawk. What CJ did here was almost like a baby slingshot. It wasn't quite a full slingshot. The reverse finish, the way he turned into the reverse was very clean. I feel like that emphasizes that you're doing a two-handed reverse more. I personally really like that, and I liked how CJ went almost straight down the middle, which emphasizes the reverse and that turn more. So because of that, I would give style about a 2.5. Again, the main component and the thing that makes this dunk really difficult, in my opinion, is the slingshot. And how far you bring the ball back is what makes the dunk more difficult. As for flight, the highest point is in his jump. His head is about an inch below the rim. In that case, I would have to give flight a 3 finish. CJ definitely finishes the ball in a precise manner. Unfortunately, the net here is kind of broken, so it's hard to see how much he dunked it down. But since the net is broken more towards the back, we can see that CJ dunked it more like this rather than straight down. So it wasn't the most precise finish. I certainly wish it was a bit more powerful. Finish, I'd give it also a 2.5. Next up, we have Itai, who did a two-handed tomahawk. We see that Itai's foot is a couple inches away from the outside of the paint. When I look at flight for 1-foot dunks, more particularly 1-foot dunks that are coming from the side, I particularly look at how far they are jumping from in comparison to the paint. So we see that Itai is jumping not so close to the rim, but again, not too far away from outside of the paint. In terms of distance, for a tomahawk at least, Itai is definitely covering some distance here. We could see that his head isn't necessarily too close to the rim. Well, I'd say about like 2.5 inches away, but because he took off from a little further compared to what most people off 1 foot would do for a two-handed tomahawk, I would have to give this a 3.5. As for the style, I am primarily looking at how far he brings the ball back. Again, similar to what we discussed in the slingshot, for a two-handed tomahawk, the way people interpret it is really subjective. Well, if you do a two-handed tomahawk where the ball is like right here, technically it's a tomahawk, but it's not that far. Some people may bring the ball all the way back here. We see that he brings the ball around his neck, so that is definitely really good extension. I also really liked how like Itai's legs kind of like folded up like that. It just looks like he's getting more airtime. To me, a very ideal tomahawk. So for that, I would have to give style a 4.5. Great job to you, Itai. As for finish, we definitely see a very precise finish. Itai definitely dunks the ball very straight down. The net flips around the rim and stays there, so very high net displacement on this finish, and I can tell already because of that, this is a very powerful finish. The way the ball comes down, the ball doesn't go directly down, but it kind of comes towards the camera, so I believe he hit some of the rim on the back. I do believe that hitting the back rim is more stylish than hitting the front because it ensures a more powerful finish. Have to give this dunk 4.5. So for this next dunk, a 360 pencil, it's a pose dunk, meaning you basically create a pose. We see here that Itai is giving CJ a lob. This is a very, very unique dunk that CJ is probably the only person in the world to do a dunk like this. So the main thing that I am looking for in terms of style for this dunk is how long he is holding the pencil pose, basically. We see that CJ breaks the pencil pose and goes for the finish as soon as he finishes the turn. This is really good because that means the pencil motion is more noticeable, and the fact that he did a full spin going right down the middle compared to like the wing. Because of that, I have to give style for this one a 4.5. When looking at flight here, this was the dunk where CJ jumped the highest. We could see that his eyes are about at rim level. Because of that, I'd have to give Flight a 4.5. When looking at the finish, it wasn't the most powerful finish. The net wasn't really all that much displaced, and we see that the finish wasn't all that precise. So because of that, I have to give finish a 2.5. For the final dunk here, we have Itai performing a Ziani windmill. When I'm assessing Flight, we see that Itai's head is around the backboard and about 3 inches below the rim. And because of that, I'd have to give Flight about a 2.5. As for style, I am primarily looking at exaggerated this circle motion. We see that a lot of his motion is very compact. I personally wish that the motion was more exaggerated. I'd have to give style a 2.5. As for the finish, we see that Ty hits the back rim. The net gets displaced a little bit. Certainly a relatively precise finish with relatively good power. So I would give finish here a 3.5.
Now this is extra. Oh my goodness. Oh! Baby one. Oh, come on. Okay. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for next week. It's a banger because, well, I jumped higher, I dunked better, and I also bring on a professional basketball player. He said he doesn't really low rim dunk that much, but his vertical is probably around 40 and he's 6'4", so you can expect some good things. Peace.